I myself was the first person to respond to the Westminster Bridge attack. But my experience of being in hospital with coronavirus was far scarier.
Past that, so.
In 2019, I was actually inside hospital with asthma. I was very worried that what possibly could happen to myself if I had coronavirus in the future.
If you have coronavirus symptoms, however mild, either a new continuous cough or a high temperature, then you should stay at home for at least 7 days.
My manager informed me on I think the day was the 17th, and he informed me that they were worried that my asthma in the past could be a problem, and he thought it'd be the best idea for myself to go home and work on the laptop at home. So I went home and I felt absolutely fine, so no problems at all. Then roughly 2 to 3 hours later, it was as if a train had hit me right in the face, and I felt absolutely awful.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
Last night, the Prime Minister was admitted to hospital for tests following advice from his doctor.
So on day 10 of all the symptoms of corona and asthma, and I woke up and I felt awful. I realised it was serious and I really had to go to hospital. And my wife had to phone 999. It was difficult because for years I've been looking after people, and I'd taken to the hospital in the ambulance or the helicopter, whatever. And for me, that was normal. But when you change your own role from being someone who looks after someone to being looked after, and then I myself was the patient being looked after, it was very scary. I myself was the first person to respond to the Westminster Bridge attack. But my experience of being a patient in hospital with coronavirus was far scarier, and nobody knew what to expect or what was going to happen. And every day you're seeing more people were dying. I was changed to a different ward when they realised that I had coronavirus. Inside the room were 3 men, and by I think the 4th day, all of them had died. You could see the staff were scared. People, they were dying every single day, and it was a lot of people as well. And to be honest, I felt really guilty, because for years I've been looking after people in dangerous sort of situations with my work colleagues, but now all my friends, they were going off into the danger, into what they didn't know was going to happen. So I was inside the hospital for a total of 5 days. And the first 3 to 4 days were horrible. Every day I was scared, I was worried. But then as suddenly as coronavirus started, I started to feel better when the doctor came along and informed me that I was allowed to go home. And then my feelings, they changed massively, from feeling really sort of low to like, wow, fantastic. I've improved and I can go home.
Oh, so we have a toast? Sorry, forgot to say. Toast to Kev and Meg.
Kevin and Megan.
Love you all, love you all.
No justice! No peace! No racist! Police! Silence is violence!
Silence is violence! Justice!
What do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
I don't think I realised how long it would take to start improving. It took about 2 to 3 months to recover from the breathing, and then again probably an extra month. So all in about 4 months to fully recover. And I found out a new way of helping people. And how we did that was by using the antibodies that are inside the plasma, and they're inside your blood. They actually protect your body from the coronavirus and actually stop it from getting worse. So I started donating my plasma, and it felt fantastic because I think, again, my actual role had changed from being myself being a patient to actually now helping other patients that have the coronavirus. And that really changed my feelings and improved how I felt, basically, which was great.